Technological progress has been instrumental in specifying climate change, as well as finding appropriate ways to deal with it. Advancement in science and technology enable great improvements in health, transportation, energy solutions, and connectivity, among others. Technological progress has also been a major enabler of globalization by boosting international trade and financial integration, as well as allowing for better and cheaper long-distance communication and real-time exchanges of data and information, bringing people closer and promoting the sharing of ideas. This progress has not been exempted of challenges such as automation, robotics, and future of work, cybersecurity, and artificial intelligence, as well as the potential impact of these developments on humans and civil rights. All these issues need to be tackled in an appropriate way. But if we want to address the growing challenges stemming from a complex and interconnected world, we will need technology and innovation on our side to help us not only doing things better, but also doing better things. Let's put it this way. How can organizations sustain success while building a responsible future? Good evening to the audience out there. You are tuning in the evening show with Stephen Poon. I'm your host for this episode of Spotlight Dialogue Series. Once again, in the virtual room with me are the regular team of Special Interest Group in Circular Creativity from Integrated Sustainability and Urban Creativity Center, acronym as ISUC, also known as ISUC at Asia Pacific University of Technology and Innovation, APU. It's live on Facebook now and live on YouTube too. We had great stuff and a little surprise. I'm very excited because we have plenty to share today. Before we get to all of that, let's start on the topic: leveraging modern technology to drive sustainability growth. Our guest today, he was born in Lithuania during the Soviet occupation, fueling his unwavering pursuit of freedom and self-expression. Acting became his therapeutic outlet and the catalyst for personal growth. Over the past decade, he has embarked on groundbreaking ventures as an actor, director, and producer. Additionally, he has developed a keen interest in entrepreneurship. Currently, he is a co-founder of Whatnot startup studio and Gaorai, an agritech platform. As an advisor for the KS, which is a knowledge exchange innovation center from Mongkut University of Technology, Thonburi, which is KMUTT, Thailand. He actively engages in the Thai startup ecosystem through networking, mentoring, and lecturing at university and startup incubation and acceleration programs. Seeking constant growth and new challenges, he strives to leverage his talents to narrate compelling stories and create positive impact. Here we go. Welcome, Martas Daniel Levicius.
Wow, what an introduction since the beginning, from the song, from all the
Yo,
things
Martas,
that
we
you
had to
mentioned.
get the audience to get to know who are we having today. So, Martas, how are you doing today?
Well, doing pretty good. Thanks a lot. Very excited. I was a bit dreading as well. It's difficult topics we need to discuss. And when you were introducing the show, mentioning all the technologies, all the challenges that we are facing, I'm quite intimidated as well. I hope I'm going to be able to express my opinions, concerns, and maybe some optimism as well. I'm doing
Definitely.
good.
Yeah, Marta, definitely. That's the reason I saw your work. So, and I heard about you as well from some of my delegates from Thailand. So they said it to me, Stephen, you need to speak to Martas. So get him on your shows. So I think there's a time, which I tried to look for you for quite a little while, but I just couldn't find you. But just for the strange reason, somebody said it to me, Stephen, this is his email. Then I just bingo. Then I just contacted you, and then I managed to get you. But thank you very much, actually.
Thank
Come
you. I'm
to
so
the
grateful, and thanks for kind words.
oh yeah, of course, definitely, because I like to always, which is talk to the people which is who are good in what they are doing, and also share with the audience, especially those are the students, and especially from our side, there's a lot of students. They are from undergraduate, postgraduate. They are on the way, which is to the industry. So they need a lot of advice, and also they need a lot of which is the people who has the experience, which is to get them the leeway to understand better how it works in the real world. So I always said it to the student, out there is a jungle. So make sure that you have the weapon ready, not just only that, but make sure there's a bullet inside the weapon. Then you can go out, then you can shoot and get the things what you want. Okay, how's the thing situation over there, especially the startup situation in Thailand?
Okay. Well, I can't explain it in short sentences. I think there are
Especially in
some.
the technological point of view, because there's a lot of all these tech startup going on in many continents, many regions, especially in Malaysia. I'm not sure how is it going over the other side of the
Sure.
region, like Thailand. Yeah.
I just got back today from north of Thailand. I was staying in Chiang Mai for the last few days.
Oh, nice place. Yeah.
Yesterday, I was participating in one event as a judge.
Mhm.
Event is called R2G, so regional to global solutions from north of Thailand. Actually, from several regions out of Thailand,
Mhm.
hosted by STEP Chiang Mai, which is a Northern Science Park. So there was a showcase of 20 startups, 10 more like platforms, and 10 product based.
Mhm.
I've been participating in these programs for the last several years, and because of COVID, I had a break for a couple of years. And I went to North, and I must say I'm happy to see that there is a progress, especially from the regional parts of Thailand. More rural parts and smaller towns, because usually solutions and ideas were not very sophisticated, very locally driven and based solutions. Not much emphasis on added value, brand identities and great marketing strategies. So it's good to see the change. As the problem in Thailand is that majority of innovation funding is happening in Bangkok. So Bangkok has maybe 10 to 15 million with outskirts, but Thailand has 7 million people. So that inequality of resources and opportunities is a bit overwhelming. But
especially you're focusing on the agritech this area. So I think there's a lot of demand, especially in Thailand. I believe in Malaysia, especially those are the which is slightly which is outskirt of the which is from away from the big city. So there's also I think they are gradually looking for that kind of practice as well.
Right. I think that agritech in Thailand and Southeast Asia has so much space for innovation. But there are some challenges related to demographics and willingness and governance and a lot of different things. But, coming back to the situation in Thailand, I think one of the biggest challenges is its early stage startup support and innovation, which is lacking. Only government agencies are trying to support and initiate some sort of grants and activities, but majority of investors are unfortunately looking to later stages, or they are looking for opportunities outside of Thailand to invest. So this creates this vacuum in Thailand that there might be innovation and technology available in universities. There's a lot of research happening, but no one is actually nurturing that. It takes time. It's not only technology to be built, but to make it into a product. That is the problem.
I think the ecosystem, that's the key. Of course, today we're going to talk about this. It's amazing, Matas. We talk about modern technology today from an actor. You are actor yourself. Unbelievable. To be honest, I have managed to watch some of the short film about you. I think you are amazing. So please, audience, please, audience, Matas is not the entrepreneur. No, it's not a technopreneur. I think he is an actor himself as well. So please find out about him. Check him out. Audience out there, please. Okay, but of course today we are not talking about theater. We are not talking about performance. We are not talking about film. We talk about modern technology. Okay, Matas, let's set the leeway before we get into our dialogue. First of all, let's look at the using technology to drive success and social impact. The increased digitalization during the past few years, accelerated by COVID-19, and we all went through that, has given many organizations or companies a foundation for the long-term growth. However, as attention now shifts beyond the pressure of operating in pandemic-ridden economy, organizations must focus on the next evolution of their business model to ensure they can deliver value to customers and succeed for years to come. To do so, it is a key for organizations or companies to deploy and use technology in the most effective way, closely aligned to their latest business drivers and any potential weaknesses. So, Matas, how does the nature of digital transformation need to change to sustain growth in the rapidly changing competitive market?
Okay, so I think one of the interesting things and one of the main things that you mentioned was COVID-19. So with Whatnot Startup Studio, one of our business models is we build startup as a service. It means we build startups for corporates by identifying the challenges that they have in their corporate structure or in the supply chain, and then we ideate and create solutions as a new companies to solve those problems. So during COVID, actually, it was not a bad time for us as a company because we got a lot of interest from local corporates, as majority of them are old school type of corporates that have one core business, let's say, building condominiums or oil refineries. So these big mega structures that they rely on their core business. But during COVID, that started to collapse. So at that time, they were actually forced to innovate. That was good to see. They put efforts and they put more funding and budgets to train their teams to ID, to find new solutions, new ideas. However, since COVID, slowed down and things are getting back to normal, that started to crumble back again. And I still see that corporates get back to the practices of just pushing their main core business. And another thing, an issue in Thailand and Southeast Asia is that you can't really talk about these things, and there are a lot of monopolies involved in many markets that they control the ecosystem, they control the environment, so they're not really that, kind of in a hurry to implement innovations. And
Matas, when you talk about monopoly, right? I think this is quite happen in Asian market. Did you realize that? Comparatively with the European market and the American market, it's a different type of the ecosystem. So how did you see it as a European yourself? Working in Southeast Asian region for almost 10 years, if I'm not mistaken, because you have shared about your background with me. So you have been living in Thailand for almost 10 years. So what is your view on that actually, as a so-called European yourself?
Well, I try to be mindful about it. I understand where I am. I am not from here, so I try to understand the reasons why it's happening. And not everything is black and white as well. There are reasons why it works and it's necessary, because perhaps some sort of government bodies are different from European ones, and some sort of corporate power helps to also govern certain industries and is still introduce some sort of innovation. So there are a lot of complications that I try to observe and try to adapt. So my advice is to be mindful and find the ways in and educate yourself, and then learn to operate in this environment. Funnily, I became entrepreneur while I'm in Thailand. So all my professional career as an entrepreneur is mostly in Thailand. So, it's for me, it's kind of became my day-to-day thing. I've learned the culture. I've learned the way to navigate and deal with
we all learning, don't we all?
Exactly, because some of the corporates are the ones that are driving. Not necessarily all of them are evil bodies. Some of them are strong family businesses with decades of experiences and implementing the right innovations and mindset into their ecosystems. So these are the ones that are shining, the ones that are trying to find better ways, better solutions, and drive that ecosystem. However, not all of them. And there are many reasons for that.
Okay, Matas, what can businesses to do ensure their digital architecture is equipped to integrate innovative technologies that will become widespread as we enter the fourth industrial revolution?
I think that should come, if I think about corporate structure, the change should come from the top. And if not even talking about, let's say, large scale corporations, but strong and established SMEs, a majority of them are being governed from the first or second generation founders that currently might be over 60 or 70 years old. So their mindset and education towards technology is still a bit outdated. And the younger generation is still not empowered to really implement that. So I think the biggest challenge is how to convince the board, how to convince the people to change the way they operate, because they suffer a lot. They are not able to keep the talent inside the corporate structures. They are not able to keep the knowledge in the corporate structures because people are keep on changing jobs and looking for other opportunities, as the governance is old school. It's not updated. So the first thing I think should come from the board level to really decide and change. And solutions then could be found.
Okay, Matas, how can tech leaders ensure that their use of the cloud technology is enabling them to derive optimal value and facilitate sustainable transformation?
Okay, so I think with cloud technology, since these cloud structures are very complicated, a lot of hardware and software solutions. So there are only handful players globally that are actually facilitating these
Mm,
services. So first thing is to be mindful to whom you want to give your data. To be aware
mm,
of the security levels, to be aware that they're doing right things and decisions towards sustainability. So you
mhm,
know if I would need to choose the right system, I would always talk to my CTO. It also depends on the architecture of the project that you're building. So finding the right tech solution, but also being mindful about security and who is actually holding your data, especially with the
mhm,
days of AI, where we
mhm.
can't predict if there's a data leak, your
Yeah,
whole
yeah.
operation could be compromised. You could have
Yeah,
clones
it's
of
true.
yourself outside, very fast. So I think the key is to understand who could help you to have good value for the money
Mhm.
and where you feel safe and confident to keep your
This
infrastructure.
has happened, especially in Malaysia lately. There was a few cases happened data leak. So and then they had to uh, go for many investigation. How did it happen? Actually, who hacked in, or is it from the internal? All these kind of things. So of course, there's a many reasons why this data leaked out. Okay, for your experience, okay, Matas, what do organization or companies need to integrate better data strategies? Because you talk about data lake, so integrate better strategies and foundational technologies to get the most value of out of AI, which are fast becoming the essential part of the modern business today.
I think that one of the challenges, let's see, when I was building Gaorai and trying to figure out how to provide good service and
Mhm,
how to learn from our users and how to learn from our pilots, drone pilots,
mhm,
and service providers, I came up with an idea, across that. People tick the box that on terms and conditions and provide their data and they don't know where it goes to. I think that this is where people are going to be more aware right now, about what are you going to do with my data? Why I'm putting all this input into the data? So I think user experience and finding the way to have a dialogue with your users of why you're asking the questions, where you're going to use the data, and perhaps finding a way to incentivize them might help you to get the better quality data, and then you could use it to build a better quality service. I am not a data scientist, so usually I rely on my CTOs to help me to build the structure, but I come from the user's point of view and user experience point of view. And currently, as a user of many different platforms on social media,
mhm,
I became more
mhm,
and more aware, and I became very
mhm,
ruthless of whom I'm gonna use in the future. I start to sign out. I start to stop using many
mhm,
platforms because of that. Because what is it for me? You are building that infrastructure. So let's say on Facebook, we provide a lot of information, but anytime they can block me. I could spend years of
mm.
building my audience. I could build my
Okay.
infrastructure, all content, and basically my income, relying on some platform. But as a user, I don't have any governance around that. If they don't like me, they just delete me, and all my
Mhm.
input in years is gone, and no one is governing that. And no one is whom I'm gonna complain to. No one.
Okay. Well, yeah, there must be some sort of leeway to get into this better protection, or how can you get around it? But I still couldn't figure out that what actually is the best way to get into that, because you need to work with the champion in technology. Those are the technologies.
So I
Those are
think
the
that is more
data
of
engineers as well. Yeah.
related to Web3 type of technologies and tokenization
Mm,
of data, so that you could
mm,
actually build tokens
mm,
with your own personal data and own it as a property, and you become
mm,
owner of your own data. So this could be the future. I know that there are some innovations and solutions being built around that. Social media networks where every user would hold stake in their own data, basically,
mhm.
or could completely own it. So in case infrastructure don't want you, you can still have an exit with all of your information and maybe put it on some other platform.
Okay, Matas, what do leaders need to consider to ensure their workforce is effectively equipped to get full value out of digital transformation?
I think one of the key thing is education, and that's not only
Mhm.
related to corporates. It's also related to general
Mhm.
education, and I have a lot of experience with farmers. There's a lot of technology related to farm innovation, to agriculture. The biggest
Mhm.
challenge is how to convince and prove, as digital marketing doesn't work for farmers. So it takes a lot of time and resources from business owners to go and talk and meet and showcase to each and individual small scale farmer how and technology could improve their livelihood. So that should come from the larger level. That should be more related to the government and education in general. For corporates as well, corporate leaders need to show example. There's a big inequality in many levels of our society and in corporates as well. Board level is so dissociated with what's happening in management level. They might take some policies and ideas and solutions without consulting with their employees, and then just employees leave their jobs, and there's no dialogue there. So I think that type of educational conversation with your employees and staff is necessary. This is one of the key things that would help to implement that. Another thing is, for example, I consult a lot of platforms. I consult a lot of other startups. I see solutions, for example, for food safety in small-scale restaurants and hotels.
Mhm.
So you have a hotel kitchen, there is a chef, and there are goods, vegetables, fish, meat, and so on. As a consumer, do you know when and how it was produced and what chef is doing that? So there is technology that could help you to track,
Mm.
that you could scan, you could, introduce blockchain to really create transparent supply chain. But that would require from that very, let's say, lower level employee to introduce new behavior, new responsibilities in their day-to-day activities, which they are not incentivized. So basically,
Mm.
they're sabotaging that technology. In management, in
Mm.
startups, you use a lot of, let's say, project management tools, Trello, Asana, Monday.com, whatever. I've seen many times how it fails. That creates more challenges to manage the tool than the tools helps you to manage your work. And then
Mm.
people revolt, and suddenly you see everyone is back to WhatsApp groups and just chatting, and it fails. So because the leaders, the
Mhm.
CEOs of those companies are not using them themselves. They are not curating that. They're not managing it. So there's just a hope that I'm going to drop this solution and you figure it out. And that's very common mindset that I think.
You're making a very important keywords here, curatorial, curating. I think someone needs to curate. So you still like go back to some kind of fundamental way of how creativity to be curated, like art. So I think it's doing the same way. It doesn't have to be only special for the um artifact made by the artist, but can be technology as well. Yeah, I think curating is really important here. Okay, Matas, let's look at the prospects. Let's look at the prospects of rising to the challenge of a sustainability conscious world. Employees and customer are now more socially and environmentally conscious than ever and expect this value to be reflected by both their employers and the organization they turn to the product and services. As a result, many companies are working to evolve their operational models to meet these new internal and external expectation while also ensuring they are set up to enjoy sustainable growth. So, in your view, Matas, how can technology be leveraged across organizations or companies to ensure that their net zero goals are achieved?
Okay, it's a complex question. Let's say, in my opinion, first part of the question, I think there has to be a lot of individual growth on this matter. It's not that the leader of the company need to tell you to be more sustainably conscious. people need to educate themselves about what's happening around that. And I think I'll expand a little bit. So looking into different generations, Gen Z, millennials, different type of experience, different type of knowledge and concerns. And I think we need to educate ourselves about what's happening around and building. Gen Z need to focus more on soft skill building, on critical thinking, onto understanding what's happening around them and how could they affect. As a consumer, as a millennial, I should focus more on what do I purchase. If the brands that I'm using, if the software that I'm using are talking about sustainability goals, do I care about these sustainability goals? Am I convinced enough about these sustainability goals? So brands need to communicate with users about what do they do to change and what is the key target that they choose. We can't change it all as a user or as a company, but we need to prioritize. We need to be aware. So it means that it comes from individuals within the company. Everyone needs to be educated of what is the target and vision of the company, what is the key change that we want to focus on, and implement the right technologies that would help to achieve. So, for example, when we were building Gaorai platform, one of our pitch was that by 2050 we might have around 10 billion people in this planet. So how do we sustainably feed that amount of people? And especially that we have COVID on top, climate change. So regular practices of farming are changing. And creates this disruption. Plus, then we have a war in Ukraine that creates a huge supply shortage of grain towards Africa and European countries. So there's a lot of issues currently happening, and the time is ticking, and that need pushes the innovation. Then we tend to see more hardware solutions are coming out. Drones, for example, the innovation in drones are being pushed. So basically, my thinking is this: when there's a need, there's a demand. There's gonna be supply. Just need to be aware and track that and find the right ways how to make it available and approachable for people. The problem is that there is technology, but it's not accessible to people. It's too expensive or it's incomprehensible. People sometimes don't even understand what that technology is doing or what it's capable to do. So entrepreneur's job is to translate that technology in simple services or in simple way of using and reaching for that. Is it crowdfunding? Is it community-based solutions there? Maybe it's too expensive for me to buy a tractor, but if the village buys the tractors and learns how to operate it innovative way, that could be a solution. So I'm not sure if I'm answering it right.
It's okay. It's just kind of I try to connect, which is those are the issue of how people respond to the net zero goals can be achieved. Especially this is the so-called one of the biggest landscape people are referring to every now and then. So there's a reason they have the benchmark of ESG or SDG. These are the things, but it's all about coming to the same focus and the same objective what they do.
So my short answer to that would be entrepreneurship. I think I really believe in entrepreneurship. It's about individual who makes decision to change something that they don't like, spotting an opportunity in the market or focusing on a big challenge and problem, climate change, famine, whatever you choose. Finding solutions and building a right product, would help for technology to grow, would help to solve the problem. But we need more entrepreneurial mindset and people need to disrupt. This is my solution. And
disrupt creatively. Am I right?
Correct. And with growth of AI solutions, now there is
there's a lot of creativity, innovation inclined to each other. They all
by yourself, you can become a team. If you
exactly
use new tools, you can do much more as an individual than let's say 5 years ago. So it's about the will and really making that decision. I have to act and do it.
Good. In your point of view, what can companies do to ensure that the growing digitization of business operation, whether that be on premises or in the cloud doesn't cause large carbon footprints. Or the follow-up question, how can technologies such as like AI, 5G, and IoT help alleviate this consumption?
Right. So I think for the first part of the question, maybe simple answer would be also choosing the mindfully who is providing solutions, who is providing, who is implementing software solutions or different type of changes in your corporate environment. Choose the right service providers and the right tech that functioning mindfully. That could be also that cloud solutions that you choose, to use. So be aware how and have targets of what you want to actually achieve. And the technology part. So could you repeat the second part of the question? So
how can technology such as like AI, artificial intelligence, 5G, and Internet of Things, the IoT, help alleviate this consumption?
Right. So I think, many of these technologies could be implemented in solutions. For example, if you are in delivery business, AI could help you to find a better routing system that saves a lot of fuel consumptions and time for drivers to deliver packages. But to really implement the right solution, you need to be honest about the challenges that your corporate is having. This is sometimes difficult. When we go to the big corporations that has, let's say, 5 or 10,000 employees and multiple business units, you would be surprised that what we find that these business units are not talking to each other and they don't know challenges of each different business unit. So if there's no dialogue, you don't know what to solve. So no matter what solution you will try to implement and where you're going to spend the money, it's not going to work because it's not going to be integrated through the whole ecosystem.
They must have the ROI, isn't it? The
Yes.
return on investment, yeah.
Yes, and they have to be open internally of what challenges they are actually having, because then solution is not that difficult to implement. As technology is there, there's a lot of different solutions like IoT as well. Depending on the industry, there are a lot of solutions that helps you to reduce consumption, let's say, of pesticide, fertilizers, fuels, have better maintenance systems. Let's say we're talking about mega structures like refineries or power plants. Different sensors could help you to do predictive maintenance, so you save costs. There's less risk and hazards and things like that. And there is investment in these changes, but as I've mentioned, the problem is sometimes come from the simplest thing, as there's no dialogue between the corporate infrastructure. And sometimes they have solution and another part of the business don't even know that it exists. That creates issues.
I think this is quite often happen in many Southeast Asian region apart from Singapore. And I realized that there's a lot of everyone doing, which is separately. They're all silo. So big corporation also they are not emerged. I think because of the ecosystem. So if that is, which is the authority set up the ecosystem, right, they'll be easier for everybody, especially those are the big corporations. They see it as a torch to be mapped out what they do. Then they will build the ecosystem along the way. But this is just for my, which is a fundamental point of view to look at this, because I know that there is beyond than that. It's not just, okay, just map with each other. But there's a lot of things need to be prepared. Are we ready technologically? And also mentally, are we ready? Sometimes, right, the technology run faster than what we do. So which is that they are not really matching the whole rhythm. So there's a reason that a lot of people run behind all this technological advancement, so they become left behind. And some people don't even know that why they are using what they do. So there's many all this kind of issue here. So it becomes, right, okay, because everybody using it, then I use it, but they don't know what is actually there's a risk behind that, or what is getting them even having a better life. No, so there's many reasons behind this, because I have been observed, not just only in Malaysia, in Thailand, certain part of the region, and also Vietnam, and those are the places I see that they want it, but just don't know how to handle it. It's just because I think there's a wave too fast than the footstep of the social development. So that's become, which is one of the issue we need to deal with that. So are we actually aligned? I think this is the good questions here. I'm not sure about what is your point of view after you have settled down in Thailand for so many years.
I think that very good comment from your side. Same, for example, with AI. Technology is growing so fast, and we're talking about potentially having a global crisis of that, because we don't know how to control this technology. And to build infrastructure or some sort of governance, and policies around that takes years, on the lower scale, I was dealing a lot with drones, agricultural drones. So technology was there, solution is kind of there, but to build the legal base and the law around that in Southeast Asia, in Thailand, of how to operate drones, what is allowed and not allowed, because it's a complex issue. You cannot blame, because it takes time to really assess all the risk and hazards. As drone could be useful to spray fertilizers and pesticide and save costs and do it more efficiently, but it could also be used to deliver a bomb. So when you think about that, you understand that we need to be careful of how and what we are implementing, and we need to be mindful of how to take care of that and protect our homes, and how to. And I like to come back to the point that as individuals, we need to be very mindful of what we are using. We cannot be that reckless anymore with putting our data outside, sharing everything, using any tools. We need to be much more careful about our cybersecurity.
Exactly. It's of course it's in order to respond these emerging technologies appropriately. Okay, Matas, where can these emerging technologies and data analysis be used to ensure the supply chains uphold ethically sourcing standard from the beginning to end?
Well, I perhaps could use an example, if I understand correctly. For example, from your user's point of view, I've been consulting one project recently related to cosmetics and pharmaceuticals and AI. By building certain algorithms, we can analyze databases, let's say, of cancer medication much faster. And then AI could help to reformulate and create different type of supplements, cosmetic formulations, or pharmaceutical recipes, let's say, depending on the changes that you want to have, let's say, of scarcity of certain ingredient in certain area. You could reformulate similar effectiveness of the product by using something else instead. So this is where it comes interesting, and that is reflected to sustainability as well. So in the future, perhaps we could have individual based, like whole wellness ecosystem, where you log in your data, you share information about your sport habits, about your diets, about your blood, about your health issues. And depending on your region, you can start building customized formulations based on AI technology that helps to analyze your achievements and your lifestyle and suggests you locally sourced products, either that are existing in the market or products that you could produce to help for certain issues. So this is the interesting parts of this technology that I appreciate, that could change the whole way we treat ourselves and heal ourselves, but also it can be much more sustainable, because in this way you don't need to ship ingredients and products from different parts of the world. You could potentially be able to find solutions locally sourced, organic. You can vet, let's say, suppliers through the platforms like that. You could assess who is actually, growing the right type of herbs or whatever your product is based on. You could track that through blockchain technology. So you create fully transparent supply chain. You could empower smaller scale farmers that are from your community and add value to their product so that it could actually survive by doing that, and it could
Mhm.
become part of their livelihood. Now farmers, at least in Southeast Asia, they're doing us a favor. They're making no money. They are just going to debt.
Mm.
So we
Yeah.
we don't understand that. But by adding value to their products, to their crops, by actually, creating some sort of added value products out of it, we could empower them. We could empower them to create much more value to us and create this type of more sustainable and more equal communities around us.
Not only that, Martha, so we need to make farmer, right? This profession sounds really sexy, actually.
That
This is my point of view, actually. How can farmer become a farmer is really sexy, actually. Really, really. Wow,
I have an
that's
idea for I have an idea for that. I want to
yeah.
encourage the generation that is currently dancing on TikTok to look
Ah,
into
there's a
farming
lot of people doing that.
to look into farming a little bit different. If you could
Right.
think about it, I would say in 5-10 years from
Mm,
now, not even technologically, but probably we're gonna see much more happening in real life. Farming
mhm,
will be like a game, like a farm will on Facebook, where you could
mm,
actually track uh, your crops through satellites. You could assess the health of your crop. You could detect pest invasion very early stage. And instead
mm,
of going there with the backpack and pesticides, you can click and invite the drone to come and spray the right product on specific area of your farm. So then you could, if we would learn to manage crops a little bit more accurate, crop becomes like alternative investment solution. So that
mhm,
also creates a space for platforms to build farms as an investment that could give you 10 to 20% of return in, let's say, in one yield. It means in 9 months time. So, that changes the whole thing by implementing these sensors, drone, satellite technologies, soil testing equipment, and building these holistic platforms. We could empower every one of us to be a farmer. It means that you could just download the app and invest
mhm.
or crowd fund a farm and grow your favorite crop in the right way by using the right products of your choice, which would be
Mhm,
advised by AI that analyze the data of all the farms in the ecosystem. Uh,
mm,
get better insurance because then we can predict better which farms are performing, and have a better, cheaper like insurance rates for your crops. Um, in theory, now it is possible, but another problem is, of course, with the climate change. We're
mhm.
still dealing with nature here, so it's not that easy to predict yet, but it's getting there. I think we would, in the large scale, it would be possible.
Yeah, especially we are having ChatGPT nowadays. There's a different experience, different horizon now. Okay, Matas, in your many years of experience, how can companies leverage technology to offer their products and services in traditionally underserved areas to improve financial inclusion and sustainable development?
Okay, so I will stick to my example of the platform that we were building. So
Mhm,
very underserved and very unequal ecosystem is agriculture, and the small
mhm,
scale Southeast Asian farmer. So majority of farmers in Southeast Asia are smallholders. It means they have 3-5 acres of land, and they might be growing sugarcane, cassava, corn, rice type of crop.
mhm,
They make almost no profit while doing that, but constantly need to go in debt to survive, to buy seeds, to plant the crop, to maintain the crop, to spray fertilizers, pesticides, and so on. And there is a technology, drone, for example, but drone
mhm,
on itself is very expensive, and you don't need drone and every day. So even simple solution like a platform, or like we have car hailing apps like Grab or Uber, these type of solutions, if the farmer is mindful, is already in the scale cheaper than using traditional methods. The problem is how to reach the farmer, and again, that is education. It's very difficult to convince, as farmers are, I get them, it's their livelihood, they don't want to risk with
yeah.
some foreigner coming and telling them that drone is better. than something that's needed, for
Yeah.
years. So it takes
They have
time to.
no idea what actually how to function, what is it all about, unless it's a young farmer, which is a people younger generation, they take up
Exactly.
farmer as a new career for their career. They understand why this technological advancement is about. How did they get supported by all these along the way, whatever they do, especially for farming. Okay, Matas, how can the creation of collaborative technological ecosystem enable more sustainable digital infrastructure?
So I think that if communities start to use something, that helps to spread the technology, and if the technology spreads, it becomes cheaper and more efficient. So there's just a natural growth for that. So if communities become mindful about implementing changes, whatever that would be, a different type of energy source that they're using, different type of I don't know, even genetically modified crops that they start to plant that requires less, let's say, pesticides or fertilization, that helps to sustain the soil. That helps to spread the technology, and the more users we have, the more we learn, the more data we get, so the better and more efficient solutions we can expect in the future. So we need to encourage people to try, and we need more support from corporates or government bodies that are in these industries to create opportunities for people to try to convince.
When you say support from the bigger corporation, so do you have any suggestion here? What is the good way to do all this? What is the leeway for that? Because I believe there's a lot of young audience out there listening as well. They want to know. They need you to give them some hint. So I'm not sure. Do you have any suggestion?
Yeah, I have a suggestion, and I have examples. So let's say, for example, in
Mm,
Thailand, in early stage of building our platform, we got some support, let's say, from corporates like Taiwan, where they
mm,
subsidized our services to their farmers. So at least we, as a small startup, we get proof of concept, we get some sort of testing, we start to really get our solution into action. Farmer gets
mm,
the benefit of trying the technology and spreading the word if it works or if it doesn't. And for corporate scale, this is peanuts, to actually support the startups and try to help to implement their solutions, and they should be more open. The problem is,
mm,
ideally, corporates would be willing to invest into these early stage startups, and that would be a
mm,
healthy ecosystem. Since the corporates want to focus on series A and B, already proven concepts, they don't want to risk that,
mhm,
disables the whole ecosystem. But corporates, if they would make a conscious decision to be a go-to place to get a proof of concept and product market fit, plus an opportunity to get earlier stage funding in faster and better terms, we would have a huge increase of entrepreneurs trying to build new solutions and ideas, and in general, everyone would benefit from that. Of course, it's
mhm.
easier said than done, but this is my dream. Like, if we would really get this type of support and availability, that could be a game changer.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Well, I can't believe our time is flying so fast. And but I do have a few more concerns here. And
Sure.
okay, Martas, technology leaders can emerge as clear champions for the sustainability agenda by driving digital transformation, enhancing data platforms, integrating reporting technology, and providing innovative solutions to tackle sustainability issues. By using the organization or the company's sustainability priorities as a lens for making strategic choices for data, infrastructure, and emerging technologies, they have a clear opportunity to step out to drive transformation and impact their organization or company's carbon footprint. So now I'm changing the gear slightly. Martas, how can we get the most accurate assessment of carbon footprints and what changes will have the biggest impact in addressing them?
Well, I think that I'm not that much educated about the carbon footprint, as it is still quite a new and trendy topic. Of course, there is a push from governments. There's a global marketplace of carbon credits that creates a lot of opportunities to innovate and create solutions. I think that the technologies that I'm a little bit familiar with that could help, to assess, well, of course, are satellites and different type of IoT sensors, but depending on the industry and what type of carbon footprint you want to calculate. I think satellites are quite effective for agriculture. However, they have a drawback because of weather conditions. When you have clouds and different type of interference, they're not 100% accurate, but quite effective to estimate and raise red flags that could help to resonate through the whole ecosystem. So, for example, rice paddies. There are ways to grow rice better to reduce methane emissions. And we could track the change of the farms that apply these changes. If the farmer would apply a change or the way they grow paddies without flooding them, satellite would be a very effective way to track and would incentivize the farmer. They could sell the credit and make more profits. And there is a space for platforms who could introduce that and implement that. In other situations, there could be sensors that helps to track and be more accurate but more expensive solution. Another maybe not super obvious way, but still is AI solutions. So better routing systems, efficiently calculating your routes and time spent on, let's say, delivery or transportation of certain products could be a huge impact on emissions. So really depends on the industry that you're in and identifying what are the key causes of your solution, and then it's just optimizing and using, let's say, not one technology but an assembly of technologies through the whole supply chain. It's never ending.
Matas, how can we improve data collection and analysis to improve environmental sustainability transparency? And also, how can this system be implemented most effectively and also creatively?
Well, I think there is a bigger problem with that. Let's say globally, as the countries that are more open to share the data and implement solutions are the countries that generally have a better livelihood in the first place. So it's very difficult to force someone to care about emissions when they need to care about their dinner, and to introduce solutions, to someone who is still trying just to survive and have, decent livelihood. It's very complicated, and not all the governments are equally eager to share information and implement changes. So it's a complex political issue, and same with corporates. I think everyone is doing everything to make more profits, and they release or implement solutions only when they have to. And that mindset doesn't help in a large scale, and again, that comes to individual responsibilities. If the leaders of these organizations or governments or communities would show an example and explain why and how, you could find the solution, and technology is there. There's a lot of new things. Just need to Google or use ChatGPT to find the solutions. It's not that difficult.
Do you think this is a good advice? This is really advisable? Which is we need to which is get it from the which is ChatGPT.
I mean, that's one of the key future skills that we need to have is Googling and ChatGPT. But meaning is critical thinking. I mean,
if you don't have the fundamental understanding, right, you will probably ChatGPT can lead you to the wrong way. So I think we still need fundamentally know what actually we're supposed to understand from what we do. It's not about everything rely on ChatGPT. I always said that to the student, right? Don't overuse ChatGPT. You can use it, but don't overuse it. But you still need to know fundamentally. But don't just I know nothing. Then it depends on ChatGPT. That's wrong, because sometimes ChatGPT really lead you to the wrong way.
You know,
If
I,
you
I,
had,
I
yeah.
recently I saw a video lecture from a professor Scott Galloway, and he was talking about, in his opinion, the biggest challenge is not a climate change, but is loneliness in the future of people who will introduce AI solutions so deeply, especially the younger generation, where they will not see the life like we did. You know, with nature, with playing outside. Mostly everything is going to be lived digitally,
Yeah.
and people will find solutions which are easier to get. Let's say dating, you know, you can already find AI girlfriends. So for some, you know,
Yeah.
it's easier and much
Yeah,
more
easier.
accessible
Yeah, you're right,
than
easier.
getting to the real deal. And you know, soon enough there's going to be a habit of that, and there's going to be a
Yeah.
generation that they will maybe
All
even know
right.
dating only in that way. So this
All
is
right. Yeah.
also a challenge that we need to understand, and without that soft skill and critical thinking leadership trainings in high schools in early days, I think this is where we need to focus, and that's where I want to sell art and theater. You know, this is the
Okay.
arena
Yeah.
that I think I am very passionate about, especially these days, where people
Mm.
get a need to see emotions from other people. We need to see what
Reflection.
is
Yeah.
a human being, you know, because why Hollywood is on strike, you know, because of that. In 2-3 years, we don't need actors, we don't need directors, we don't need writers. You can generate content. You know, you can generate content even now. In text, you could generate some sort of imagery, but you can already create. So you don't need this big industry to produce something watchable. But on the human level, you know, we need to make decision who do we want to support. So if you're going to watch on TikTok AI generated videos, that's where the innovation is going to go. If you will demand a better quality content or some sort of performances, and you're going to be willing to pay for that, then this is what you're going to get. So without educating that mindset, we can get into the traps, and soon enough AI is going to be telling all of our stories. And you know, that's it.
Okay, Matas, let's come back to these corporation companies. Um, how can we most effectively get employees to understand the environmental impact of their work habits? You talked about the habit earlier on, especially in the use of technology, and encourage them to make changes.
Well, I think, you know, one of the things that corporate structure and well, differences in different government structures, let's say startup structure, corporate structure, academic structures. Why do people go to work in corporates? You know, what's their goal? Is better work-life balance, making steady income, reducing decision making, having team to support you. So there's certain type of character that chooses corporate career, which is nothing bad with. You know, it's very understandable and desirable to many type of choice. So could that type of solutions from the corporate management could be implemented into the corporate employee packages? So, you know, let's say carpooling or different ways of arriving to work, different ways of incentivizing where you would buy your, let's say, clothes. Maybe corporate would make deals with sustainable fashion brands or different type of things. So that requires some creativity from corporate, I don't know, HR departments or general management of what type of new added perks that would encourage sustainability, not only in their own ecosystem, like in the corporate itself, but support local businesses who could provide a better solution. And that, again, we come to that point that, you know, enabling SMEs and startups by introducing that technology, by being the first users of these solutions, uh, would help the whole ecosystem.
In your point of view, what technology will help us achieve our environmental sustainability goals, and how can we best determine if the outcomes are worth the cost?
Well, I think again, it's the depends on the industry. You know, even simple
Mm,
solutions like using bioplastic for your crisps could be a significant impact if you are a larger scale corporation. You know, so materials that you use for construction could be a good way, because perhaps we would, if you use better construction materials, perhaps you don't need that much air conditioning,
mhm,
or you know,
mhm,
that preserves the temperature in the room better. So I think the key is to be mindful in every step. You know, it's not necessarily one technology, it's the combination of all of the technologies that would help us to
mm,
solve. But I think, of course, AI is one of the leading and fastest growing and the most like groundbreaking technology ever made. You know, so
mm,
it would be not right not to mention that it's probably the one that will help us the most. Again, quoting Scott Galloway, let's say travel
yeah.
industry, you could talk even now perhaps with ChatGPT to help you to plan the trip in more efficient way, to suggest you the best places to visit in the country where you want to get. Then if you have an extension, you can book the tickets faster, and you could choose the option that is least you know environmentally impactful. You could choose mode of transportations that are alternatives, you know, and create less emissions. So that optimization and power of AI, I think is the best hope for us. You know, it's one of the biggest threats, but it's
Mhm,
also could be very useful for travel industry, med tech industry, food and agriculture. Um, you know, finding alternatives, researching better materials, assembling better ingredients from local suppliers. It takes it's difficult to do it manually, but if
mhm.
search engines are optimized and you have good uh, let's say AI algorithm to help you to screen, this would be a big thing.
Okay, what partnerships can we form among our suppliers and other industry participants to ensure a seamless commitment to improving environmental sustainability, according to your years of experience?
Well, you know, it depends how much power of negotiation you have
Mm.
as a buyer. Could you say I won't buy if you don't do it? You know, could be one thing. Choose the suppliers that commit.
I
And
think in
what
order to reflect that, if you look at the comments, which is
ah,
from one of the um, audience, and he mentioned it. Business must be people centric. Profit centric is obsolete. Together, we need to build the ecosystem. I think this is very much of the things you have just mentioned this as well, especially when you talk about what is actually our ROI in the end. I think yeah, I'm not sure about what is your view here. If you look at especially you working out with the supplier, with the business, different business model, different industry participant, how do we ensure that this commitment to improving environmental sustainability?
so as I've mentioned, if I have a purchasing power, you know,
Mm,
and
mm,
you could leverage that. Let's say if you can prove that you are buying
mhm,
let's say sustainable raw materials, you could use it for your own brand to add value. So you
mhm,
could sell it you know for a better price. You can promote, you could create your brand image, and then it becomes your responsibility to screen. So it depends of what type of materials you are screening and what's your criteria. But that's also relates to the government
mhm,
uh, certifications and control as well. You know, let's say Thailand recently, I think from this year, they banned sugarcane
mm,
burning. So
mm,
if the farmer is burning sugarcane after the crop, they will not be allowed to sell their crop. And
mm,
now you can track that with satellites. So you could potentially see if the farmer is using, if they're in the ecosystem, if they're in your platform, and they commit, and you could use technology to track if they're using the right products, if they're using the right way of let's say growing that certain crop. You could eventually buy it for a better price as well, because the end product becomes more added value. It could be sold more expensive, so you could have more purchase power, so you could incentivize farmers more. But for me, it's education is the problem. People don't relate. People think now, especially on the at the beginning of supply chain, and you cannot kind of blame them. They are the ones that are very sensitive, and they don't have ability to plan and dream ahead. They really need to.
I think nowadays this is the key issue about, and everyone's trying to push it on to education issue. I think there's a lot of different interpretation. How do they define education? So now, of course, in the different regions, defining education in the different way, and also in certain countries like in Malaysia, we have the private type of the education, and also we have the public type of the education, so which is state education. So the way how we approach education practice is very different. So some of them, because it's all about holiday, some of the which is a sector they are looking for is more about market making money driven. So it's very different. So it will end up, right, the way how we approach the phenomenon differently. So therefore, when things come to the wrong way, not the way we expected, and then we always like, okay, this is because how we don't get cultivated properly, we don't get educated properly. Then we blame the so-called the education. So I'm not sure whether this is really fair to justify in such a way, because I find that there's nothing to be done just from the singular perspective. It always takes two to tango. So this is how I understand that. So I believe there must be the reason why the things happen the way how it happens. So it's not because we need to blame for certain parties, certain aspects, certain point of view. So, but I leave that open because I don't want to be too judgmental for that, because I know that everyone upbringings differently, and the nation building also differently from a different region, different countries. So the way how they interpret all this phenomenon really different. Some of them doing this, some of them doing that, and they have understand differently. Then they blame each other, and many all these kind of things happen. Then we as a spectator sees most of the game. So then we just look at that. Okay, now what is the next? How can we do it differently? Okay, right. In order to respond that, right, to achieve the whole full benefit, according to what you said, is the newborn technology. It is an imperative to build physical infrastructure for the digital transformation, remove the possible barriers to technology adoption, and provide effective policy like what you just mentioned there, regulations, standards for monitoring and controlling the ill effect of technology, whether intended or unintended. There's also need to create a vibrant, innovative ecosystem, which is you have indicated quite a few times. So with that, Matas, fantastic. Actually, I really can really on and on with you. But this is a great thank you so much for giving us the time today and for sharing all of your expertise so well thought out. And it gave us a lot of to think about as well. It's likely spear some more questions. So it wouldn't be surprise me if you and me may meet up again and have another conversation around some of these follow-up questions that I must see that I'm sure will be coming up on our way. So awesome. Thank you so much once again, Matas. I appreciate it. Thank you for being with us.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for having me, challenging me to face these questions. It makes me think on the spot, which is healthy, and also reminds me, to keep up to date. You need to do research, need to keep innovating, need to find solutions. Thanks for everyone who were listening or will listen this episode. If anyone would like to have any follow-up questions to me or would like to chat, you can check my social media, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, whichever you prefer. I'm very open for conversations. So do reach out, and let's change the world together.
Thank you, Matas. Okay, let us conclude the dialogue this evening. There's so many things which is Matas has shared. Okay. Over recent years, a major focus and concern have been directed towards the depletion of traditional technology. As long as creative solution is found that causes little to no harm to the natural world, while allowing for continued quality of life in today's societal standards, this balance can be believed to be sustainable. Sustainability has become a substantial part of life as it influences purchasing behaviors, technological developments and business, and general institutional changes. Extensive sustainability practices to improve efficiency have helped companies optimize resource consumptions and accelerate growth through innovative products and services, all the same time as even as driving environmental competences. Today, sustainability is a key differentiator and a strategic innovation imperative that help drive performance and top line growth. Thanks for tuning in. Spotlight Dialogue series organized by the Special Interest Group in Circular Creativity from Integrated Sustainability and Urban Creativity Center at Asia Pacific University of Technology and Innovation, APU, Malaysia. Till then, take care and each other. Have a nice evening.